The story of the US dollar, past, present, and future. The US dollar is the world's most recognizable and influential currency, playing a pivotal role in the global economy. Its evolution, significance, and future are tied to the history of the United States and the broader trends in global finance. Origins of the dollar. The early history. The history of the US dollar dates back to the 18th century, following the American colonies' independence from Britain. Here's how it all began. Influence of the Spanish dollar. Before the United States had its own currency, the Spanish dollar, also known as the Piece of Eight, was widely circulated in the American colonies. Its use greatly influenced the development of the US currency. Coinage Act of 1792. The US dollar was officially created by the Coinage Act of 1792, which established the dollar as the basic unit of money in the US and defined it as 0.7734 troy ounces of silver. The act also established the US Mint to produce coins. Alexander Hamilton's role. The first Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, played a crucial role in shaping the financial system, advocating for a strong national currency to help the young country grow economically. First U.S. banknotes, paper money, banknotes, began circulating in the 1860s during the Civil War under the name greenbacks. These notes were originally not backed by gold or silver but were introduced to finance the war. The gold standard and Bretton Woods system. For much of the dollar's early history, it was tied to precious metals such as gold and silver. Gold standard, 1879 to 1933. In 1879, the US adopted the gold standard, which meant that dollars could be exchanged for a fixed amount of gold. This system lasted until 1933, when the Great Depression led President Franklin D. Roosevelt to suspend gold convertibility to stimulate the economy. Bretton Woods Agreement, 1944. After World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the US dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. Under this system, the dollar was pegged to gold, and other currencies were pegged to the dollar. This placed the dollar at the center of the global financial system. End of the gold standard, 1971. In 1971, President Richard Nixon announced the end of the gold standard, effectively making the US dollar a fiat currency, not backed by any physical commodity. From this point forward, the value of the dollar would be determined by market demand and trust in the US government. How the dollar works today. Today, the US dollar is a fiat currency supported by the strength of the US economy, government trust, and global demand. Here's how it works and remains stable despite attempts at manipulation. Federal Reserve's role. The U.S. Central Bank, known as the Federal Reserve, Fed, is responsible for regulating the money supply, managing inflation, and stabilizing the dollar. Through tools such as interest rate adjustments and open market operations, the Fed influences the value of the dollar. Foreign exchange market, Forex. The value of the dollar is determined by the foreign exchange market, where currencies are traded globally. The dollar's strength is often measured against other currencies, like the euro or yen. Dollar as reserve currency. Due to its stability and liquidity, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, meaning that central banks hold significant amounts of dollars to facilitate international trade and finance. This gives the dollar immense power in global markets. Petrodollar system. Since the 1970s, the US dollar has been the currency of choice for buying and selling oil worldwide, often referred to as the petrodollar. This has reinforced its role as a global currency, as countries that trade oil accumulate and use dollars. Combating manipulation. To protect the dollar from manipulation, such as counterfeiting or inflationary policies, the US government uses sophisticated anti-counterfeiting measures, see more in Materials and Security Features, and maintains a stable monetary policy through the Federal Reserve. Materials and Security Features of the dollar. US banknotes are printed using advanced materials and technology to prevent counterfeiting and ensure durability. Material. US dollars are not made of typical paper, but a special blend of 75% cotton and 25% linen. This material gives the bills their unique feel and durability. Security features: watermarks, faint images that are visible when held up to the light. Security threads, thin ribbons embedded in the paper that glow under ultraviolet light. Color shifting ink, certain areas of the bill, like the numeral in the bottom right corner, change color when tilted. Microprinting, tiny text that is difficult to reproduce by counterfeiters. 3D security ribbon, on the $100 bill, a blue, woven security ribbon with moving images enhances security. These features make it extremely difficult to counterfeit the US dollar effectively. The present and role of the dollar in global finance: the US dollar remains the most widely used currency in international trade, finance, and investment. Here's why it's still so dominant. Global trade. Most international transactions, from oil and commodities to high-tech products, are conducted in dollars. Around 60% of all foreign exchange reserves held by central banks are in US dollars. Safe haven asset. In times of economic uncertainty or crisis, investors around the world often flock to the US dollar as a safe store of value, bolstering its demand. Debt and lending. The US issues a large portion of the world's government bonds, known as treasuries. Countries, companies, and investors buy these bonds, ensuring continued demand for dollars. Financial innovation. The US dollar is also crucial in new forms of digital finance, including cryptocurrencies, e.g., dollar-backed stablecoins, and other decentralized financial systems. The future of the US dollar. While the US dollar remains dominant today, there are ongoing debates about its future, particularly in light of global economic changes. Challenges from digital currencies. The rise of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, along with the idea of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, poses new challenges to the traditional dominance of the US dollar. Countries like China are developing digital versions of their currencies, potentially reducing dependence on the dollar. Geopolitical risks. As global tensions rise, some countries, including Russia and China, have expressed a desire to reduce reliance on the US dollar by conducting trade in their own currencies. If these efforts gain traction, it could erode the dollar's dominance. Sustainability of US debt. The US has a significant national debt, which could pose risks to the dollar's future if investors begin to doubt the US government's ability to manage its finances. Climate change and the green economy. As the world shifts toward a green economy, new systems for pricing carbon, energy, and resources may emerge, which could affect how the dollar interacts with global trade. Conclusion. The dollar's role in a changing world. The US dollar has come a long way from its origins as a silver-backed currency in the 18th century. It has evolved into a global powerhouse, influencing markets, trade, and finance worldwide. While it faces challenges from technological innovation and geopolitical shifts, the dollar's resilience and global influence remain unmatched. Its future may involve adaptation to new forms of money and trade, but for now, the US dollar remains the backbone of the global financial system.